What's up, everybody? Mike here with Vaping Delights, and I'm gonna go back to an RTA that's been around for a little while, but it's probably one of my favorites. It's the Reload RTA, and this is an optional bubble glass which you have to buy aftermarket. This is the black version. Already got a set of coils in here, and you can see it's got a nice raised deck. It's got airflow on each side that comes up right over the coils. Some say it's a little more of a restricted lung hit, but I don't think so. I mean, it's not wide open like a hive, obviously, and it's a 24 millimeter RTA, and we're actually going to stock some more of these, and they have a new 22 millimeter MTL. But I figure anytime I can do a video on wicking, it's probably helpful to somebody. And got something new in stock. Canna Cotton. 80% cotton, 20% hemp. And it comes in these strips that you separate like this. And then, so this is like for two. One of those strips will do your build. And I'll tell you what, it comes packed with cotton. I've already been trying it out, and I've got to say I'm impressed. I just started stocking this, and there's the package. 80% cotton, 20% hemp. No, it doesn't have any THC or CBD or anything like that. Just cotton. So you've got your strip for whatever you need. These are 3 millimeter coils. Just kind of get it all together a little bit. You don't overdo it. And what I always do is I just go ahead and cut it in half. That's all I'm going to need. And then I take one end, and we're going to do a little pointy thing. And I'm going to turn this down so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And really, most RTAs are very similar. When you get into the smaller ones, you don't have as much space to work with the juice well line. So you get one in, and you want it to go in firm, but not like tight where you're pulling the coils. And you also don't want it to be loose. You know, that's one of the ways you get a lot of spit back and popping. So basically you have like that. So what we're going to do, in a nutshell, if you can see right here, you can see the juice well right here. Make sure I get my thing in there, which is right there. So there's not a lot of room between here and here. There's not a lot of room between here and here. But what you want is cut the length just enough where you're getting it inside of here, but you're not stuffing this bottom. You want this bottom, it doesn't have to be completely clear, but you want just a little bit of fluff in there. I'll show you what I mean. So on the Reload, it's a raised deck, so really leaking, I very rarely have an issue. It's only if I rush it or I thin it out way too much. So what I always do is I always start out with just thinning it out a little bit. And you see, I've got a lot to cut. So I'm gonna start with doing my first cut. And I always like these curved scissors because it curves around the RTA. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my scissors right down here. Let's see. I'm gonna put my scissors right down here on the base. Do my first cut. And then I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Basically, I'm putting it down to where the bottom of the juice well is. And I got that one pretty crooked. And then what I'll do, okay, so now I'm gonna like really look at it. Okay, how much do I have to work with? And you just have to judge how much fluff do you have, how much do you need. And I like, on this particular RTA, to thin it out a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll do one side first, trim it, and if I got it too short, then I can still have a little bit to work with from the other side. So that's still about right. Now the other thing I do is the inside right here from this length is shorter than the length on the outside. Not by a lot, but you see all this right here underneath? You don't need all that. So I'll actually give it a little trim underneath. It keeps it from overstuffing that juice port. And so now once I think I've got it about where I want it, then I'll start on one end, because this is kind of a wide juice port, and I'll just kind of take and grab it and tuck it in. I kind of try to tuck the back part first, then the front. And what you should be able to do is you should be able to run this in very easily, and you should be able to run this in here. You should see some metal when you look inside that juice port. It's hard to see there because it's kind of small. This thing isn't focusing very good. But you can see a little bit of cotton, but you can also see some little gaps in there. So that side's pretty good. And you want enough up top where you're just going to keep it from leaking. So I'm going to do the same thing to this side. I'm going to trim it underneath a little bit. I'm just going to thin this one out just a little bit more. And if you notice when I'm combing, all I'm combing is the end. I'm not combing like all the way from the top down, because you want that cotton up there to hold some of the juice for you. So when you're chain vaping, you have something to vape. So you're looking at it, you're going, okay. Because what you don't want, if you don't want a whole bunch of cotton in the bottom of that juice port, because the juice has to be able to get in there so that it can be wicked up. The other thing I'll do too is, like, so say if I go ahead and I wick this and I'm driving home and I'm like, man, it's not quite wicking as much as I want. You know, like maybe I'm getting like a muted flavor. I'll go back, take the top off, I'll pull this tail out just like this. And I'll say, hey, you know what? That's just a little long. And I'll just trim it while it's wet. So, now if you look at that, see how you can see the metal? That's almost laying down. So now you can see how it's going to lay in that juice port. I want some space underneath that cotton on the bottom. It's the same for any RTA, really. So I'm just going to take another look at this side too. I'm not done thinning. See how there's some that's a little uneven? That uneven's really not, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything like that, but now you can see on that one too. See where we're looking? The other thing that will happen is after you vape it, most of you know this, if you use RTAs, that cotton will get heavy and it'll sag down into those juice ports. That's why sometimes after you've been vaping it for a while, like say a couple days or a day or two, you're like, man, this thing's giving me dry hits. Well, take the top off, trim your cotton. Simple as that. So I've actually already got a couple RTAs. I'm not going to put juice on this one right now. But I want to show you also the Fatality 28 RTA. Look at that juice port. You see any cotton? And look at my airflow. You see any juice? Nope. This thing's vaping perfectly because most of the cotton I've got in this is in the top of that juice port. That's really the key. So what I like to do when I get a fresh wick like this, I call this prepping my RTA for later. I'll put it back together. So I think of these aftermarket glasses, they're not perfect, but you get a lot more juice in the tanks. Anyway, that's it. Our website is vaping-delights.com, and I am soon going to have these Reload RTAs available on the site, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer them with the optional bubble glass. So for like an extra couple bucks, you can get the Reload RTA with the bubble glass. And obviously that's a custom tip. So check out our site. We've got Canna Cotton up there. Feel free to use code DELIGHTS10 for 10% off any order just for watching this. Thanks.